Hey, this is Danny Jansen with the Blue Jays. You're listening to the Walk Off Podcast with Adam and Scott.
So excited to be joined by today's guest, catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, Danny Jansen. Welcome to the Walk-Off, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Hey, you got it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, to start with, buddy, I think there's some congrats in order here. I hear that you're expanding your family's roster, if you will. Baby Jansen on the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes,
Very
me and my
excited.
wife are extremely excited. We had the first trimester ultrasound that I was glad to be a part of, was able to go to that, being on the injured list. So that worked out really well, and we're extremely excited, man. We're pumped.
It's really cool.
Yeah, that's very cool, buddy. That's very cool. And I know you and the wife just tied the knot, too, fairly recently, correct?
We eloped in 2020, and then we did do our ceremony January 2nd of this year. So yeah, we're fairly new in the wedding or in the marriage, I guess.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. It's funny. A pandemic will kind of slow your big weddings down, right? So,
Yeah, we had to push it back one
um,
year, but that's all right.
when did you meet your wife? Has she been with you all along?
I met her in 2018 in the off season there. Yeah.
Awesome. Right on. Was you met her in Toronto, or where'd you meet her?
Nope, she's from Chicago area. So I actually met her through one of my buddies that I grew up with. Um, it was his girlfriend's roommate at the time. I got us hooked up kind of through that way, and then the rest is history.
Right on. So let's get to some baseball stuff here, my dude. I know the question you're getting asked all the time is, how are you feeling? I know the oblique is all everyone's talking about. How's rehab going?
Yeah, it's good, man. Rehab's going well every day. It's getting better and better, and then finally, now it's kind of doing more stuff every day that I go to the park. So it's exciting. Obviously, itching to get back, and but I'm going to take my time with it, make sure it's all good, so it doesn't happen again. Just try to get myself in the best scenario to be good to go the rest of the year when I get back.
So as a fellowed Four Eyes, I gotta tell you, man, and as a guy who played baseball and hockey with his spectacles on, I absolutely love that you wear the sports glasses. Is there a reason for it? Is it just that you feel more comfortable in it, or is it like superstitious at this point, or just how you've always done it?
Yeah, so I my glasses story is goes back to 2016. I was in high A at the time, and like I'm telling you, man, like before 2015, like all that, like I didn't have any problem, right? But 2016, I remember it was almost done with the season, and I remember reading like street signs, and I had to squint, and I think that part of me was like, you know what? I hope that I have good eyes, so I don't want to believe that I need glasses or contacts or prescription. So after the year, I finally went, and I have astigmatism, and I needed some correction. So I ended up getting my glasses. I went to the Arizona Fall League that fall, that off season, and I mean it was HD. It was incredible. I was kicking myself that I was stubborn at the time, but I think I don't know. I was trying to tell myself, no, it's not your eyes. You're good. Your eyes are good. They're perfect. But it turns out I'm needing them, and so yeah, ever since I tried contacts. Actually, one game last year we were playing in Dunedin in the early going of the season, and I don't know, something about it, man. My eyes are so sensitive. I don't know how you are with them, but I
Yeah.
can't really like put anything in them. Like taking them out is just it's a mess. So I think I went like 0 for 4 with like 3 punchies that game or something. So
Enough of
actually
that.
I really like the glasses too. Being a catcher, like the dirt isn't like kicking up in my eyes. I feel like there's a little protection with that, but
Sure.
Interesting.
um, in the humid days, though, it could be tough. There's been times where I had to like really try to get out of like a corner of my eye because it's so fogged up in humid days in Baltimore or something. So, it's got its pros and cons, but I love wearing them.
It's funny how it is, eh? With glasses, I remember when I finally got glasses. I was in grade 10, and I did not want them, and I pushed against it, and then I put them on, and was just like kind of you said, where I was like, "Holy cow! Like the world's not supposed to look like you're underwater. What?" Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes HD. It's like, man, what was I doing?
yeah.
But
What was I?
here we are.
Turns out I love seeing.
Yeah, and then it's cool because I'll get like I've been told just by I don't know from like parents or something that the kids wear glasses when they're playing, like they've seen me wear them, and like they're cool about wearing them, and it's like that's awesome. That's just like what I mean. Like that's a
Yeah,
that's a
that's pretty
cool
cool.
feature as well. It's like, hey man, like you got
Isn't
glasses,
it?
wear them. Like it's all good. Like I see more and more players across the league, I feel like, who wear glasses, whether it's from wind protection or if they're prescription or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a good look for you too. There you go. So I know we here on the walk off we're very lucky. We get to call Anthony Telford a friend of the show. He's been on about half a dozen times to talk baseball and his experience and stuff like that. And I know you spent some time at his facility down in Florida this off
Yep.
season. What was that experience like?
It was cool. Obviously, with the lockout and stuff, we weren't able to go in the facility,
Mm.
right? But in a way, like it allowed Romano, Baraki, like all these guys that went out and kind of met new people and new facilities, like all that, to really just meet the people, right? Like working with I went there. Obviously, I'm not really working with Telford, but I was there to catch
Mm-hmm.
his pens, right? And then hear all the good stuff he's got to say about these guys, kind of give me reminders if I need to, like what makes them great, what they're doing, whether it's mechanical or whatever. So it was cool to be there and meet some other players from different organizations, and allowed me to get a lot of work in for sure, receiving wise and doing my thing back there. So it was great.
I love the story he tells about Aaron Judge wanting to come in and check out Jordan Romano what he's pitching, and he's like, absolutely not. You wait outside, and on top of that, no Yankees gear allowed. Just so classic.
Yeah. I think Judge is a pro too. He's like, I'm going to see this guy so many times. Just going to respect his work right here,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that was something that happened for sure. But yeah, they're all pros there.
So I know the one guy that Telford mentioned really impressed him was Ryan Baraki, and I know you and Ryan are quite close. You've come up the baseball ladder together for years. You were even in each other's wedding parties, correct?
Yes, he was in mine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was stuck on my honeymoon with COVID during his, so
Great.
that was brutal. That was terrible, but so yeah, we were though.
Yeah. So, what did you like about? I'm guessing you kind of saw the same thing Telly did. Like Ryan's made some progress this off season, and now that he's back from injury, what do you expect out of him this year?
Yeah, I mean he's a bulldog, man. He's got 3+ pitches. I think his changeup is a huge pitch for him. Obviously, he's not a starter anymore, but still, you got an inning or an inning plus of work. That changeup's a plus pitch. Don't want to hide away, shy away from it. So I think just working with Telly, I think it freed him up a little bit as far as with simple adjustment with his mechanics, and I think that there was a couple bullpens where it was like the best bullpens I ever caught. It was just nails, and he's just that's the
Wow.
kind of guy he is. He's a competitor, man, and I'm excited for him.
It would be such a nice addition in the back end of that if he can put it together because he's always had so much potential, like that lefty that just has so many different weapons to go from. But just it seems like every time something clicks for the guy, he winds up injured or something. So like, fingers crossed for him because man, he deserves it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. He does. He's a workhorse. He's worked so hard. He's got such good stuff, and it's just it's been unlucky with some injuries, but he'll be good. He's obviously trying to stay on the field as much as he can, and when he is, he's a threat, man. He's obviously great for our bullpen.
So, Danny, we do have a pile of listener questions to get to, so we'll do that at the end here. But this is one that kind of came up numerous times, so I figured I'd get to it right now. We just saw you really take a step forward offensively at the end of 2022, and then, 2021, and then again in spring training and to start the season. So a lot of these questions are a variation of what triggered that power explosion. Did your approach change? Just what clicked?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think I've spoken to people about like just the having Marcus Simeon around, like watching him last year. I think that he's a great example, and I'm not comparing myself to Marcus Simeon, right? But I think watching him work and the stuff he does in the cage, the way he prepares, he's a pros, and I think a lot of his work is to the opposite field, cleans up his swing, and then when the lights turn on, I mean he's hitting balls pull side, more than majority of the league, and he gets his hits that way, and I think that it's something that I was like, you know what, hey, this is my strength too. I'm a pull hitter. That's something that I've always done well, and I think that just staying aggressive and trying to get the head out and be aggressive in general is good for me. And I think I hit the ball the other way the best when I am in that mindset and I'm trying to get the head out. Then that kind of gets me on time. So that's something for me that I think I had to, I've always looked at struggle as a way, I'm going to come out of this struggle better, right? So, obviously I've had, hot streaks and stuff, but I have struggled offensively. And I think that that's all just finding out who I am. And I think that took a big step at the end of last year, coming off the injured list the second time. And going into this season in general, it's just, hey, this is who I am. I'm going out there. I'm thinking about the good things, my approach, and getting the head out, being aggressive, and this is the new, this is me. So just figuring that out. Yeah.
Okay, so one of, in my opinion, anyways, the unique aspects to this 2022 Blue Jays team is that there's kind of a large contingency of you who have played together for a very long time, throughout the minors. I know both Adam and I are stand-up comics, and it's kind of weird how the individuals that you kind of start a journey with and you're in the trenches with, and you see their wins and you see their losses and you see them make progress, there's like a bond that forms when it comes to just starting a journey with somebody. And I mean, it's pretty cool to have watched this core of young guys kind of come together. And now you're at the point where 2022, you're touted as World Series contenders. What has that experience been like, and how cool is it to kind of look around and be like, man, I kind of grew up with a lot of these guys?
Yeah, that's exactly right, man. I've played with Baraki Romano since 13 and 14, and Gurriel. I don't think I didn't really play with Bo much in the minor leagues, but obviously knew about him in springs and stuff. Play with him in that. But yeah. Vladdy and all these guys, man. It's a really cool thing, like you said. Just being together for so long, those long seasons in the minor leagues, and you just build this bond. And in the first couple of years, getting the experience at the major league level, and then now it's go time, and it's something that I think we've gotten our feet wet, and now we're ready. And there's expectation, but that's a privilege, right? Like that's something that we're taking it one game at a time, and see what happens, right? Just try to keep it loose, prepare as best we can, focus, and then one game at a time and see what happens.
There's just something to be said, for having seen guys go through slumps and come out of it, or get hot and get cold, and just like almost having a confidence in everyone you're playing with.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. That's baseball right there, right? It's the waves and stuff, and seeing how you learn from each other too. You see how do these if you're gonna Bo Bichette or something, he's in a slump. How does he get out of it? What does he do? Right? It's a lot of it's mental. It's such a mental game, and that's something that I've learned a lot from these guys is how they approach every single day, every at bat, every pitch, and how they prepare and stuff, and that's what makes them great, right? That's what we're all striving for.
So we've been very lucky to have a couple former Major League catchers on the show, a couple former Major League pitchers who have talked about catching. And one of the themes that seems to come up over and over again is that when it comes to catching and calling a really good game, that it takes experience, right? It takes 4, 5, 6 years in the big before you kind of master that skill. And that's kind of where you're at right now in your career, right? You're kind of at the point where you've been in the bigs for 4 to 5 years, and like, Have you felt that? Have you felt yourself improving behind the plate, and just as you accumulate experience, just getting better at it?
Yeah, it's something, catching where it's as soon as you think you know everything about it, game's gonna spit you out, man. That's the position where, it's an important role, and it's something that game calling. I remember 2015, 2016 with my old catching coordinator Ken Huckabee. We were doing all these things to try to learn how to read swings better and stuff in the cage, just drills on it. And that comes with experience as well. And like, hey, what are you going to call based on what you see, and trusting yourself and trusting that the work gets put, the work you put in, and then get to the big leagues. And there's so much more, data, so much more resources, scouting reports, all these things. And then it's kind of gives you the roadmap. So how are you going to get there? This guy struggles with something. How are you going to get to that, to put him away with that pitch? Right. So that's the chess game of catching, and it's the really fun part. And it's something, I'm still learning every day, every year. It's going to keep learning about it. Right. But, it's something with experience. You play against certain teams a lot, like the AL East teams, something, we play against them for, the last 3 years, or for me, last 4 years playing against these guys, you get more and more comfortable with them, and you see them more. So it's just, experience for sure. But it's the fun part about catching.
So I'm curious what your your pre-game prep or even pre-series prep looks like. Like, how data-driven is it? How often are you more going to a pitcher's strength rather than worrying about a hitter's weakness? Like, how much does that come into play? And I'm also curious, for these meetings or whatever, is Pete Walker involved? Do you have a guy from the analytic department that is actually right there with you, or is it just you and the pitcher? If you could kind of give us a little peek behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's something that I got some stuff on Blue Seam and all that stuff that we use for, looking at reports and looking at like, first pitch swingers or how good are these guys against fastballs, certain off speed pitches. So it's all stuff you can look at. And I like to look into who we're facing and stuff like that. And then we have plenty of guys. Pete's very involved. We have analytic guys too that do like scouting reports and all that. So our meetings is a pitcher, catcher, and then it's Pete in there, and we kind of we divide and conquer a game plan, and it's all good meeting, it's all good stuff, and then you go from there. So it's it's a lot of preparation, and then you take it one day at a time.
How often do you need to adjust within the game where you're just like, okay, well, this is
right.
working?
Yes, that happens, man. That's all part of it, right? You got certain guys that have, maybe they don't have the heater that well, the command, right? But they're slider command and curveball command. I mean, you definitely got to take that into consideration for sure. It's a huge part of it. And that's reading your pitcher. It's reading what he's got that day. And maybe it's a no-go with a certain pitch, but I mean, it's the one that he's commanding and he's got a lot of confidence in it, and you go with it. And that's something that, that's also part of the experience that you get just by, being with each other, and communication is such a huge part of catching. And that's the beauty of it.
It's kind of funny because as analytically driven as the game has become, there still is a point within the game where sometimes it just all goes out the window, right? And it's eye test and baseball knowledge.
Yeah, the analytics are good though. They're good. They'll give you like, hey,
yeah,
right. This is where we want to go. This is where we want to attack the guy. But if the guy doesn't have it that day, then you got to adjust, and that's part of it. That's the fun part of the game is being on your toes and adjusting in game.
So I know today was kind of cool for a few reasons. Number one, a win is always nice to see. But also, Gasuke Kato, after 764 minor league games, gets his first major league start. He gets his first major league walk and his first run scored. And then we saw last year, too, friend of the show, he's come on a couple times, Taylor Sacedo, who just seems like everybody's fave dude within the minor leagues anyways. I know everyone on Buffalo that we talked to is just like, of all the guys we could have picked, Sacedo was the guy. Right? Like, so how cool is it on the big league club to see guys succeed like this? And what is it like, the atmosphere in the clubhouse, when a dude makes his major league debut after grinding it out for so long?
Oh, it's electric, man. And I think everybody remembers their first game and their debut and all that stuff, right? Like, it's such a cool feeling. It's such a cool feeling to be on the other side of it too, and to celebrate with these guys after a win and all that stuff, after the first hit, first walk, all these good things. So it's an awesome part of baseball and the clubhouse, being a part of it, and it's cool to see, man. It's cool to see guys make it to the big leagues, fulfill their dreams, and then help the team win, right? So that's the beauty of it. It's a lot of fun.
I know Katawa even mentioned today that like he felt like he maybe didn't belong, and one of the things that really helped him fit in was that George Springer actually took him aside and was like, listen, you do belong, not just in the majors, but in this clubhouse. And that's really cool to see. Who are the guys who, in your opinion, are the big leaders in that clubhouse? Obviously Springer.
Yep, Springer, Bo, Vladdy, David Phelps, Gosman.
Really?
There's a lot of guys, a lot of the veteran presence. Jordan Romano, like all these guys who will do that, and that's something really cool to hear too. Having a guy like Springer just grab you and say, "Hey, man, you belong." Like that helps. I remember my first game, right? You just get, I just built up anxiety, ready to go. Like, I mean, it's a huge day and all that stuff, and then you go out there and it's the same game, right? It's the same game. It's just it's a little bigger scale, right? So. That's really cool to see, and that's the culture that we try to build here, and that's the loose, but like that family like feeling, and that's what we got.
So I did want to talk Alek Manoah for a second because the guy is special. I mean, it's pretty rare for a dude to get called up at 23 as a starting pitcher and then for the most part just adjust to the show almost seamlessly. I
Yeah.
know you've caught the majority of his games in the bigs. What do you like about the way he approaches the game? And do you see Alec as a dude who can continue to improve and move up even higher than he's doing, even though he's already been very impressive with what he has brought to the team?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a guy that I've always said is just fearless. Like he's having not that much experience at all in pro ball, right, and then being bumped up right to the big leagues, and adjusting like he's done. I mean, this guy he's fearless. He goes up there. He knows what he's going to do, what he brings to the table. His confidence is on 1,000, and he's going to go out there and he's going to give you everything he's got. And it's something that it's cool to see this year too. Like when Gosman came in, I remember he was picking like this guy's a sponge, Manoa. He's gonna go up there, he's gonna ask, the veteran guys, what makes them good, like certain pitches and all that stuff, and he's gonna try to soak it up and put it into his game. So I've always said he's a sponge and he's fearless, and I think that he's always gonna want to improve. He's got that attitude as well. So yeah, he's a big part of this team.
I just love too that last year, not that he ever had really any games where he was blowing up, but even when he was pulled after, 4 innings or something, allowing some runs, he was never the dude to go into the bench throwing his glove, throwing a fit. He was always like looking for a catcher or a coach to talk to and pick his brain of. It's just like, is that something that is just individualistic, or can that be kind of passed down and taught in the clubhouse?
I don't know. I think that that's something he does really well. I think that's something that he stays. Like I said, he's very energetic, very confident, and like he brings even when he's not pitching, he's bringing the energy on the bench. Um, and yeah, I think it's something that this clubhouse, especially that it's so loose and so tight at the same time, right? Like we pull for each other. It's like a family. It's been guys that have played together for so long that it
Mm-hmm.
really allows you to feel that way, right? So especially him, after a game, whether it's a good one or bad one. I know he wants to go out there every night, every time he gets the ball and go 7+, right? And if sometimes it doesn't happen, he's still going to bring the energy on the bench and pull for his squad. So that's awesome things.
So I know you mentioned Kevin Gosman, obviously the Blue Jays' big signing this offseason, and I mean that splitter is just one of the nastiest pitches in all of baseball, and it was on
Yeah.
display in full force this afternoon. What is it like to catch that pitch? And Kevin actually said that when he's throwing it at his best, he gets blisters and can even get some blood on the ball. I'm guessing you have a strong stomach. Whenever you see blister blood on the ball, you're just like, ah, my
Yeah.
boy's throwing his stuff, his best stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but no, I mean that splitters. It's one of the best in baseball for sure. I mean I think the command of it. Listen, there's splitters that I've caught that are like knuckleballs. The splitter it's got a mind of its own. Like it's not really one way to throw it or how it looks. It's kind of all different. And his especially, he's got a change up as well and his splitter. The splitter has a little bit more bite. He's got it's a chase pitch. It's going to be down, often buried, right? But he's got a lot of command of it. He throws it to both sides of the plate. So and the confidence he has in it, obviously it's an elite pitch, and you just want to get to the right counts to throw it, and then try to put guys away with it quick. So you saw it today. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it was in full display, and it's a gross pitch, but it's a lot of fun. I haven't had too much experience with him actually. It's caught a couple live BPs and some bullpens in spring, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fun to catch even in that stuff. So
So, Danny, speaking of solid pitches, I'm curious who in this starting rotation, and we could even broaden it to the bullpen too, but who has an above average out pitch that maybe doesn't get the love it should?
oh, I mean, there's a lot of guys. Let's see. I think one guy that comes to mind right away is like Kikuchi's splitter. I think that's something that he's going to start throwing more and stuff. I think that's a really good pitch for him. Speaking of splitters, right? It's another one
Yeah.
that's just a
Yeah.
if you got a splitter and you got command of it and the confidence in it. I mean, that's a great pitch, and I think that's a pitch that you see more and more across the league. But trying to think who else. I think Merriweather, his changeup. I think
Oh
Merriweather's
yeah.
got like 4+ pitches, and when he comes into a game with 4+. pitches. You got to try to figure out, how you're going to attack these guys with these pitches. You might not use one that day, but his changeup especially, it's something where it's like 20 miles per hour off.
That's nuts.
Trying to think like all of our lefties, like Sauce, Baraki, Meza, their fastballs at the sink. I think they can front hit righties and get into lefties very, very well. That's their strengths, and that's not a confident at bat being a lefty hitter facing that sinker. And then I got one for you. David Phelps's cutter is a pitch that he does to righties that you don't really see all that much. Like the front hip cutter, it's kind of a danger area, but when you can command it, like he does, and set it up to throw it, it's absolutely elite. So I guess I can keep going on and on, but we got plenty of them.
Okay, so last year, right before the start of the season, we were lucky enough to have on the show Tim Meza, and he came on and really talked about his recovery of his Tommy John, and he mentioned you by name as like someone who he kind of considered an unsung hero to him. He was talking about how hard it was to be away from the team and rehabbing during a pandemic, and just how difficult it was to not know what was going on all the time, and that you were really good for his mental health. He said, that you were one of the ones checking in on him and kind of filling him in on what was going on with the team and updating him. And obviously you guys are good buds, but how cool has it been to see Tim not just recover from Tommy John, but all of a sudden become this like deadly weapon out of the back end of this pen?
Yeah, it's been great, man. I'll tell you what, after it's two different pitchers. I think pre and post, like Tommy John and stuff. I think, I played with Tim since 2013 as well. We got drafted together. We came in together. We played at every league pretty much together. He was a starter, and I was obviously a reliever. And that's something that he never really threw a sinker. Never threw a sinker. He was always a four-seam guy. Even like first year or two in the big leagues, four-seam kind of guy too. So I think after he started throwing the sinker, and now, I mean, he is a seventh, eighth inning, whatever guy, or also, a specialist. I think that sinker is devastating to lefties, left on left, throwing it in. He's got so much confidence in it. And also the righties, he can throw it away and then throw it inside. So it's been great to see, man. I know Tim's an outstanding human being. And I remember watching it and seeing it, pretty much in person when it happened and stuff, and seeing him come back and fight his way, to a roster spot, and then do what he's doing now. I mean, it's incredible. And that's, he's a beauty of a human being, and he's a workhorse, and he works his butt off, man. So it's great to see him do this.
It's kind of crazy, how you can see a guy be so close to being great and then just figure it out. It just goes to show you, like, when it comes to baseball, how close you are from not being in the majors at all to being a dominant major league player. It's so wild.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes with, how do you handle your opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And baseball, as you guys know, like, baseball is a game of pretty much failure, and I've learned, especially, like, man, like, you gotta have a plan. You gotta have, a short memory. It's a long season. Obviously you don't want to, you want to ride the wave and try to stay as consistent as you can, but there's going to be ups and downs every year. That's pretty much inevitable, right? So it's about how you handle the downs and how you handle the ups, right? And it's such a mental game. So, it's a great story that Tim has.
It really is. So I'm very curious about when you look back on your career to date, and I know the ultimate goal is a World Series, but to date, when you look back, are there some moments in your career that kind of stand out to you as like moments you personally are really proud of? Like, do you have any wow moments that when you look back on, you're like, it's still surreal to realize I was even in that, had that experience?
I would say, yeah, like personal, like individual type stuff. Is that what you mean? Yeah. I think everybody, dreams of hitting like a walk-off home run, right? And I think that, when I still think about, the one that I had in 2019, that was a pretty surreal moment still. And I think even the home run on opening day this year was something that, obviously, I've definitely had slow starts for sure, right? But haven't, hitting the home run in the first game, and And having to start like that, it's a great feeling. And especially for me, it's like, I feel like I really figured out who I was at the end of the year, and then coming in and starting off like that, like that's, solidifies like all the work that I put in, mentally and physically to get myself where I'm at now. So, trying to think of some other ones. The 2020 postseason, like,
Yeah.
clinching and going to that, right. And being, having the experience of the postseason, even though, it was, unfortunately it was short, right. But, still like playing those. And also I'd say I'm going to keep going. I'm going to say, just I think in general of all of like last September of finally getting back to
What a run.
Toronto, but playing those, the run that we had and playing those games, all those meaningful games where it's like, obviously every pitch matters, and it does the whole year, right? But playing those meaningful ball games and what we did in September was incredible. It was another great experience moment for us as a team, and for me personally as well, being in those big games like that.
What was the feeling in that clubhouse during September? Because it had to have been so surreal and so crazy at times.
Yeah, I mean, it was still loose. It was loose. I think
Still
that's what
loose.
this.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what this team does. Extremely well, and it's. But I can't say enough about how this team prepares, how they do too. We prepare so well, offensively, defensively, as a team. All the preparations we do, and the individual work people do to be ready to play that night. But then when you play, man, it's supposed to be fun, right? We're going out there, we're having fun in the dugout, and during the game and stuff, and then after a big W, having fun, and that's what it's all about. So it's something that this clubhouse has definitely become. It's just a loose clubhouse, but it's a prepared one. It's a focused one as well.
So before we throw to listener questions here, because we do have quite a few of them, and I know that we'll get crap from our listeners if we don't get to them pretty quick here. But one last question for you here. I'm just curious, while you were growing up, just loving
Yeah.
baseball as a kid, who were some of like the guys that you just really looked up to and were like your favorite players, and what team did you cheer for as a kid?
So I grew up a Cubs fan, um, and I think that I think I also grew up. We grew up hosting the low A team in Appleton, Wisconsin, as well. So I grew up pretty much from when I was like 7 or 8 till I don't know how long, like 9 or 10 years after that, like hosting the minor league players at the Wisconsin Timber Others. So having there's a story about when I had Adam Jones. We had Adam Jones stay with us one summer, uh, which was a pretty surreal moment for me.
That's
I'm
so
gonna go
cool.
back. All right, listen, I'm gonna go back to when you asked about a surreal moment. Here we go.
Okay,
Okay.
here we go.
This is it. This might be like the icing on the cake so far. Is it was so then coming back to this story. So when I was 9 years old, we had Adam Jones, who was 18 years old, right out of the draft, played for the low A. I think they were the Mariners at the time. And my brothers was 16 at the time. I was 9, and Adam was 18. So they were a little bit closer because they're closer in age. And I was just a little brother, always asking for a ball and a bat, right? Like just trying to get something out of it. And but then let's fast forward like 14 years. I'm playing against them in the big leagues, and I think that's just something that's a full circle, crazy baseball moment where we were hosting him, and I was looking up to him,
Yeah.
and and then next thing 14 years later, we kept in contact, very, not that much through that time, but playing against him 14 years later, I think that's just a nuts moment. So that's probably one of the most surreal ones for me still.
That is so cool. Did you guys have a little chat before the game there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him during batting practice and all that. And we talked for a while, and then he was hitting third that night. He came up and he slapped me on the chest super hard, and he goes, "Proud of you." He goes, "Proud of you, kid." And like, I mean, you can't make that up. That's
No,
just
that's unreal,
that's a
man.
wild story.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, first of all, I do want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time. We really appreciate it, and I know our listeners are incredibly excited that you're joining us. So, a big thank you to you, and I'll toss to Adam here, who has all the listener questions, and we'll go on from there.
All right, sounds good, man.
Okay, so this first one comes in from Craig Ballard.
Danny, unbalanced schedule. We know that's coming to an end next season, but for your entire career, it's been in play. So you've just got a ton of experience, a ton of at-bats in the parks of the AL East foes, Baltimore, Tampa, New York, and Boston. New York and Tampa in particular, I'd love to hear you deep dive, Danny. Your career OPS in New York is 940. I mean, that'll work. Wow, wow, wow. What is it about Yankee Stadium? Is it the way the Yankees approach you? Is it the atmosphere there? Is it the batter's eye? What is it about Yankee Stadium that you've been able to be so successful there? And on the other side of the coin, Danny, what is it about the Trop? So it's not just you that struggled at the Trop. Man, this feels very much like a Toronto Blue Jay situation, the struggles at the Trop. Danny, what is it about that darn ballpark that makes it such a house of horrors for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even really know that much that stat, but I don't really know what it is, man. Obviously, you know, they got some of the best arms, best bullpen in the game. Same thing with Tampa, right? And you know, I think it's just, I don't know, maybe I just get hot at the right times when we're playing them or something. And I'm telling you, it's not like I go to Yankee Stadium and it's like, ooh, that batting eye is way better, right? It's much better. I think it's just one of those things, you know. I can't put my hand around it. I don't really know. I'll tell you about Trop though. Trop seems you know, it's, I don't know. I've always just you know, I can't really say that I don't see the ball that well there. I think that maybe it's a tad darker. I don't know, maybe not. It's just one of those things too.
I like how you were just like, I don't want to know that stat. Like, I don't know that stat. I didn't need to.
Yeah, I think I'm like 3 for whatever at the Trop.
All right. Next one comes in from Ian from our Discord. It says, I would love to hear his perspective on time spent with Anthony Telford this winter and how that helped him and the pitchers there. I think Scott kind of touched on that earlier, but.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's an outstanding dude, knows his stuff. There's a reason why there's a lot of guys that go to see him and stuff like that. And I think that, you know, he's helped me with, especially, you know, with the guys on my team, like, hey, this is what, you know, they look so free and it's coming out so easy. And, you know, I'm not taking credit. That's all him, but it's something that he's told me, just keep a lookout for these certain things. And these guys are going to be, you know, nails. Right. So, it was a good experience being there, and he's an outstanding dude and a great teacher.
Well, he was sure impressed with all of you. He was very excited for Jordan Romano specifically. And just for my own self, how impressed are you with Jordan Romano's start to the season?
Yeah, you know, it doesn't really come to surprise for me. You know, he's our closer, and that's what he does. He's got a you know, great attitude. I think that you know, especially the closing role, it's a distinct role, and it's something that, you know, you're obviously going to be, you know, the ball's going to be given to you in crunch times and tight ball games, and you got to go out there and you got to do your thing. You know, obviously, you know, good or bad, you got to keep that same mentality. They're going to go out there and get everything you got, and that's something that he's really, 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 I feel like, kind of mastered, is that mentality of going out there, and it's like, hey, I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to come at you. I'm going to attack you. And so I'm not really surprised at the start. I mean, he's our closer and he's a stud.
Who would have thought 13 games into the season that if you were to make a bet who's going to have either more home runs, Vladdy, or more saves, Jordan Romano, the fact that he's up 7-5 is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of saves early for sure.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
All right. Next one comes in from Joel.
Hello, Danny. Can I call you Danny? Well, I just did. I hope that's okay. We're on a first name basis, I guess. My question has to do with your facial hair. You used to shave in between at bats, which was one of my favorite things, when you would come up with like totally a shaven face after having a beard just like 2 innings before. Are we ever going to see that again in your career? Or have you moved past that? Because your hitting looks like you've moved past the facial hair. It doesn't seem like the facial hair has any effect anymore. But I love that, and I just wanted to know, are we ever going to see it again? And what was the effect of the facial hair on your hitting? Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So I'm 1 for 2 on it working. Wait.
Average.
Wait. Actually, I think I'm 2 for 2. 2 for 2 on it working. So the first time I did it, I remember I was DHing. I was in AAA. I think it was 2018. Now, I'm not a fan of striking out, and being a DH and being a catcher in DH, completely different. Like I got way too much time on my hands being a DH. You know? So I remember we were playing. I think it was Lehigh Valley. We were playing. That's the Phillies. AAA. We were playing there, and I punched out my first at bat, and I had a mustache because sometimes I'll just like this has knocks in it, so I'll do a mustache or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And sure enough, had a punchy, so I went inside and I shaved it off, and I think I got 2 hits after or something to finish the game. So that worked, and then I did it again in Detroit in 19. And another thing, I was struggling. I was over something, 20 years. I don't know what it was, and I had a mustache for whatever reason at the time. And I went in there, I shaved it in the dugout when I got a base hit. So 2 for 2. It's one of those weird things with me. I think it's, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of funny just to shave it and see what happens. And it's 2 for 2. I don't know.
So you gotta hold on to that trick for when you really need it next time.
Yes. Can't I cannot abuse it.
Yeah.
Can't abuse it. That's for sure.
All right. We did have a question too, kind of related to that. Sometimes we see you out there with batting gloves, and sometimes we see you out there gloveless. So, what goes into the decision-making process behind the batting gloves?
Man, hearing all these, I'm all over the place, huh? It's yeah. So I didn't use batting gloves in high school. It's something that, and then I got to pro ball and I started using them. I don't know. I think maybe it's another one of those things where it's like, hey, this is who I am. I'm a no batting gloves guy, and that's my whole look, and that's when I feel the most confident. I don't know. So I did try it in 2020 again during spring training. I had a great spring before the pandemic and all that stuff with batting gloves. I do throw them on in the off season for the majority of the time, just to kind of keep the hands all right, because the hands get beat up pretty quick. But also you kind of got to get used to that, So you do have to hit with no batting gloves. So usually when spring comes around, I'll start doing it towards the end. But that's just something where for me, I don't know, maybe it's just old soul in me, and I like to just get my hands in the dirt and I don't know. It's one of those things, but I would prefer no batting gloves. That's who I am. That's something I'm going to do. So when the batting gloves come on nowadays, it must be freezing outside, or I don't know. So you see the batting gloves, then you better tell me to take them off right away.
Interesting.
I just love that these Jays fans are noticing little things you're doing that you're like, oh crap, I didn't even realize.
Yeah. Right. And my dad will say sometimes, take those dang gloves off, man. It's like, what, you're probably right. Right.
What's your dad think of the old oven mitt that everybody's using on the base path these days?
Oh yeah, I mean that's talking about the base stealer guys that put it on.
Yeah, the big mitten there, the big blue one that we always see. Do you ever wear that? Do you like that or?
No, I think I'm 0 for 1 on career stolen base attempts. So
that's a big enough sample size.
Yeah, it's a really cool. It's a good thing, man. Because you slide in and you go head first majority of the time in a second base, and it's something that protects you and keep you on the field. So all for it. I think that's coming, and more of that is showing up, which is it's all good stuff.
All right, next one comes in from Discord as well. So this is Sentimental Hygiene. We have some great names in our Discord, but this one wants to know who has been the hardest new addition to catch this year and last. So specifically, he lists Barrios, Gossman, and Kikuchi, who's been the hardest to catch.
Well, I got the most time with Barrios, and so I'm not going to say him. I think Gossman is I still haven't really caught him all that much, and Kikuchi I've caught more than Gossman. I think that with Gossman though, I think with his splitter, you got to be on your toes with the splitter and the changeup, but it's also devastating pitches, and we're going to call them and use them, and so I won't say him either because I really haven't caught him much. So I guess it goes to Kikuchi. I think it's. He's another guy that's got, 4 really good pitches, and, it's just about kind of, getting on the same page with him and figuring out, what gets him back, like when he's struggling with a certain pitch, what gets him back, or what does he like to do to put a guys away in certain situations. And it's something that, obviously with a new pitcher, you want to communicate and be tossing the fire and go to battle with each other right away. And then that's really where you see what you got. So, for the newer guys, he's the one that I've caught majority. So, but I'll say him.
Out of curiosity, and this is kind of out of left field, I guess, but when it comes to acquiring a guy like Kikuchi or like Gossman, does the team know before they announce it to the whole world? Or are you also finding out about acquisitions on Twitter like everybody else?
I think I saw. Yeah, I just see it. I don't have any Twitter anymore, but Instagram is where I see
Right.
the acquisitions and stuff. So yeah,
Okay, so it's broken to you just like it is to us. All right.
yep, yep, sure is.
All right, next one comes in from Rinks. Wants to know, curious what Danny thinks of the electronic pitch calling system and how it affects the flow of at bats these days.
Yeah, it's it's something that obviously being a catcher and working so hard on your craft, receiving is such a big big importance to the game, and the separator with you and other people, and it's all everybody has a different style, right? So I think that um it's something that I'm definitely not for. I think that it's uh I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for it,
Yeah.
but it's something that I think that every catcher, I feel like they work so hard on the craft, and the craft separates them. Receiving such a big part of the game that would just take that away. You don't have to worry about it; you just catch it. So, um, everybody's got a different style of catching, especially, and that's the beauty of the position as well. So yeah, I'm really not for it.
So you don't
Sorry.
want to get to a point where your game is being called by the analytics department then.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I think the analytics are great. I mean, analytics are great, man. Like they're obviously
Of
a huge
course.
huge
Yeah.
part of the game. But having some of the freedom to adjust, and I think that the electronic strike zone, that's just taking that out of it, right? So
All right. Well, I do need to clarify one thing. Maybe the way this question was worded, it sounds like that answer was about the automated strike zone. I think the question was more directed at the pitch com system, like the little
oh, was it
keyboard
pitch
that you
com? Is that
have.
what you
I
said?
think that's not the term used in this question, but I think now that I'm rereading it, that's what they were asking about.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm all for the pitch com. It was something
Okay.
at first. At first, I was just like, it's part of the game as well, is doing the signs, and pitchers have been looking down there looking for signs to lock them in because they're laser focused on one position, right? Um, but then, obviously, every team's got like, cards and stuff like that. And when guys on second base, you could every two pitches or whatever it may be, there's times where you're switching up signs, and that's become the game, right? And that's all right. And then but now you have this thing that really you don't have to worry about, and use the energy, to worrying about signs and switching them up, and having different sets, and it's just you got a button that you press, and like the pitchers, especially our guys during spring, they not everybody tried it right away, and then some guys did it and they had great feedback. One of the things that we had to figure out was kind of like, all right, well, hey, if you're always used to looking in at the catcher signs and that gets you focused, now you're hearing it, and you don't have to necessarily look in there. You got to try
Hmm.
to figure out yourself, like, hey, I got to get focused on here, right? Instead of hearing it, you can look. Your focus could be everywhere then. So that was unique for sure, but it's definitely all for it now, for sure. Just because you can just take away the using all the energy that to switch up signs every other pitch and all that. So it's good stuff.
Um, I guess while we're on the subject of game planning and cards and everything here, I do have a question. This one comes in just from my brother. I don't know if we are going to get to it or not, but I think it was last year there was a bit of an incident when you guys were playing Tampa Bay. There was a play at home between Kirk and Kevin Kiermaier there, and he scooped up Kirk's game plan card, and then that was a whole big kerfuffle. Was it stealing the game plan or anything like that? How big of a deal what information would a team be able to pull out of something like that? Like, is that an actual advantage, or was that just media blowing stuff out of proportion?
I mean, what we have on those cards is if there's times we get stuck, like it shows on what areas we want to attack the hitters, right? And it's not really generalized to righties and lefties. It's personalized, to whoever's on the mound.
Okay.
That's their pretty much what their game plan and how they can attack guys. So yeah, there's a lot of important stuff on that thing for sure.
Fair enough. All right. Two last ones here. So this one comes in from David Cook. This is a fun one. Besides cutting off your cast in high school to play with a broken arm, What was the worst? Oh, okay. What was the worst case of bad tacos you had to play with? So one of the running terminology in our community, bad tacos is how we describe injuries because we don't
We're
want to jinx
superstitious. We don't
anybody
want to
with
use the word.
Bad tacos. Yeah.
So in
All
this
right.
case,
That's a
bad
good one.
tacos is the term for any time missed playing baseball. So what's the worst case of bad tacos that you had to play through?
Man, worst case of bad tacos, huh? I think that as far as like minor stuff, I mean, there's always you always I think in baseball especially, you never really playing 100%, right? There's always something going on. Trying to think. I mean that one in high school, I guess it wasn't necessarily my broken arm; it was my wrist that I like shaved half of it off and then used an extreme amount of tape to get me through that game. That was one. Trying to think if I can think another one for you guys. Um, hmm. Bad tacos. Huh? That's what you guys like to say.
I mean, we all know there's no such thing as a bad taco, right? So it's a pretty
Yeah.
playful term.
Yeah, I guess that's it, man. That's the one I can think of right now. Like that's probably the worst. But
Oh, fair enough.
yeah.
All right, so this one comes in from Bradley. Wants to know at what point in your, I guess, childhood or adult life did you become a full-time catcher? Like at what age were you when you made that commitment?
Yeah. When I was 9 years old, I was very fortunate to have, a little batting cage in the backyard. And my dad was always my coach up until like high school. So we had team practices kind of there at times, not all the time, but just once in a while and stuff, hitting in the cage. And there was a time I was 9 and my dad was a catcher, growing up in Chicago and stuff. And, through high school and some like men's leagues and stuff, like he's got a passion for catching. So he stuck me back there. Okay, we're 9 years old and we're doing like a live BP off a machine, and I'm getting foul tipped in every single spot. I mean, I came out of that thing and I was like,
Bruised.
I mean, I might have even been crying. I was like, I do not want to do this. And then my dad, let me cool down a little bit. He's like, hey, want to get back in there? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Sure, I'll go back in. And he always says that's the distinct time where he's like, hey, he's going to be a catcher. So for the most part, though, I'd say like 9, 10 years old, that's when I started becoming a full-time catcher. In high school, pretty much only caught a couple summer ball games. I might have played first base. And then through the minor leagues, yeah, it's been full-time catcher.
Did you ever pitch?
I think a little league or something. Yeah. Yeah,
Wait.
nothing too impressive.
Last time we talked to Telford, we were asking if you made your way onto the mound and threw a pitch just to see what you're throwing up there on the radar gun. But he says, no, Danny's a true professional. He would never fuck around with something like that. So.
Yeah, last thing we need, huh? It's a bad taco.
Yeah, exactly. That's a fun one to explain to Sportsnet for sure. Yeah. All right. So last one here, and then we'll let you go. We had quite a few people in our Discord asking how this team is handling the high expectations this year. You guys have gone from, playoff hopefuls to World Series contenders, if not favorites, right? So same core group of guys. How's everyone? I know it's a loose atmosphere in there, but there's got to be some recognition that like, okay, our window is now open and let's go for it.
Yeah, I think that it's this team's very confident. Obviously it's, the young core who's got that experience together through the last couple of years and in the minor leagues as well. And then the great additions that we have, had last year and then this year as well. Incredible pieces to this clubhouse and team. And, like I said, I think, having the, expectation, I think it's, it's a bit of a privilege to have that, right? Like we're aware, but at the same time, like, pressing about it and thinking about it too much is not going to get you where you want to go. I mean, it's something that's, hey, we're taking it one pitch at a time. We're trying to simplify as much as we can, right? Like it's a long, long season. And as long as we, look to the left and right and we got each other, pick each other up and be there for each other in this long season and stuff and in the clubhouse on the field, then that's all we can do, man. Control what we can control and prepare as best we can and go out there and have fun. And that's something that this team excels at for sure. So, yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
Love it. Well,
honestly, Danny, thank you
much.
so much for all your time, man. Like, we really appreciate you being so generous with it, and we wish you and our Jays all the best, man. And yeah, go get them.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast.